Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Modi returns home after concluding his five-nation visit, highlights issues faced by Global South, also firmed up multiple pacts on areas of immense importance. PM Modi conferred with Namibia's highest civilian honor, also addresses Namibia's parliament, says both nations respect dignity and freedom for a shared future. Donald Trump slaps 50% tariff on Brazil, also new tariffs on Iraq, Libya and 5 other countries. Brazilian President Lula threatens to suspend economic deals. And today all eyes on ASEAN foreign ministers meet in Kuala Lumpur, where US Secretary of State Marco Rubio to meet Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. In sports, India and England brace for Lord's showdown. Jasprit Bumrah returns to boost India's pace battery, while Jofra Archer to play his first test in 4 years for England. Prime Minister Narendra Modi returned home after successfully concluding his five-nation visit. PM Modi highlighted issues faced by Global South and also firmed up multiple pacts on areas of immense importance. The aim was deepening India's ties across continents from Africa to Latin America and the Caribbean. We get you details in our next report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi undertook a five-nation tour from July 2nd to 9, visiting Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina, Brazil and Namibia. A journey focused on boosting bilateral cooperation and strengthening India's global partnerships. In Ghana, PM Modi became the first Indian Prime Minister to visit the West African nation in 30 years. India and Ghana signed 4 key agreements spanning culture, traditional medicine and more. In a special recognition, PM Modi was conferred Ghana's highest state honor.
Both the leaders acknowledge that this is a historic visit, for the fact that this visit is taking place at the Prime Minister level from India after 30 years. President Mahama clearly acknowledged that it is a landmark visit that is very timely and very opportunistic, at a time when Ghana is also looking for partnership with India to deepen economic engagement.
Next, in Trinidad and Tobago, PM Modi was welcomed by Prime Minister Kamla Persad Bissessar, marking the first Indian PM visit to the country since 1999. Both the nations inked 6 MOUs covering infrastructure, pharmaceuticals and other sectors. PM Modi was also awarded Trinidad and Tobago's highest civilian honor, the Order of the Star of the Republic.
A total of 6 MOUs or agreements have been signed between the two countries. These are, firstly, MOU on recognition of Indian pharmacopoeia. Secondly, we signed an agreement on Indian grant assistance for implementation of quick impact projects. In addition, we had program of cultural exchanges for the period 2025 to 2028, an MOU on cooperation in sports, an MOU on cooperation in diplomatic training, and an MOU on the establishment of 2 ICCR chairs of Hindi and Indian studies at the universities of West Indies of Trinidad and Tobago.
In Argentina, PM Modi held wide-ranging talks with President Javier Milei. Both leaders pledged to expand cooperation in trade, technology, defense, health and space, reinforcing a growing strategic partnership.
The two leaders discussed the necessity of diversifying and expanding bilateral trade. The Prime Minister requested Argentina's support in expanding the India-Mercosur preferential trade agreement, noting that Such an expansion can bring mutual benefits for both sides and open up new opportunities.
Prime Minister Modi then travelled to Brazil for the 17th BRICS summit in Rio and a subsequent state visit in Brasilia at the invitation of President Lula da Silva. During the state visit, the two leaders held talks on trade and investment, defense and security, health and pharmaceuticals, agriculture, renewable energy, energy security, digital public infrastructure, space cooperation, and traditional medicine. In a special gesture, President Lula awarded PM Modi Brazil's highest civilian honor, the Grand Collar of the National Order of the Southern Cross.
One of the key areas that were discussed, it includes defense and security, agriculture, food and nutritional security, energy transformation and climate change, digital transformation and artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies, industrial partnerships, including defense industries, critical minerals, oil and gas, and also bioenergy and pharmaceutical industry, and also business and private sector cooperation.
Concluding his tour in Namibia, PM Modi was accorded a ceremonial welcome including a 21-gun salute. Talks with President Netembo Nandi Ndaitwah focused on energy, health, education and digital cooperation. India and Namibia signed 4 agreements to deepen ties, and PM Modi received Namibia's highest honor, the Order of the Most Ancient Welwitschia Mirabilis.
Cooperation that were discussed was in the area of natural resources, because as you know that Namibia is endowed with rich natural resources like diamonds, lithium, copper, cobalt, graphite. All of these rich critical minerals are useful for our industry. The cooperation in the area of health was discussed, which also included the possibility of Jan Aushadhi being introduced in Namibia. Also supply of medicines and direct sourcing from India.
With this multi-nation outreach, Prime Minister Modi has not only bolstered strategic partnerships but also reinforced India's position as a trusted and influential global player. Bureau Report, DD India.
Prime Minister Modi continues to garner global recognition for his statesmanship and soaring popularity on the world stage. In the latest honor, he has been conferred with Namibia's highest civilian award, the Order of the Most Ancient Welwitschia Mirabilis. This is the 27th international honor bestowed upon Prime Minister Modi. His roundup of the prestigious accolades the Prime Minister has received in recent months.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred with Namibia's highest civilian award, the Order of the Most Ancient Welwitschia Mirabilis. The award was presented by a Namibian president. This is not the first time that Prime Minister has been conferred with such state honors. Earlier, on July 9th, Prime Minister was awarded with Brazil's highest civilian award, the Grand Collar of the National Order of the Southern Cross. Brazilian President Lula da Silva presented the award in recognition of Prime Minister Modi's notable contributions to strengthening bilateral relations and enhancing India-Brazil cooperation across key global platforms. On July 4th, Prime Minister was awarded with the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the highest honor of the Caribbean nation, in a special ceremony at the President's house in Port of Spain. Prime Minister Modi is the first foreign leader to be conferred the award. On July 3rd, Prime Minister was awarded with Ghana's national honor, the Officer of the Order of the Star of Ghana, in recognition of his distinguished statesmanship and global leadership. In June this year, Prime Minister received highest honor of Cyprus, the Grand Cross of the Order of Makarios III. In March this year, Barbados conferred on him the Honorary Order of the Freedom of Barbados. The award was presented by President of Barbados and accepted on behalf of Prime Minister by Minister of State for External Affairs, Pabitra Margarita. In the same month, during Mauritius' National Day celebrations, Prime Minister Modi was awarded the Grand Commander of the Order of the Star and Key of the Indian Ocean, the highest civilian honor of Mauritius. He is the first Indian leader to receive the award. In April, Sri Lanka honored him with the Sri Lanka Mitra Vibhushana Award, the country's highest honor for foreign leaders. It was also the first time this award was presented to an Indian leader. Later in July, he was officially presented with Russia's highest civilian honor, the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle. Though it was awarded to him in 2019, he received it in person in 2024. The award recognized his key role in building a strong strategic partnership between India and Russia and promoting friendship between the two nations. In November 2024, Nigeria conferred upon him the Grand Commander of the Order of Niger, its highest honor. He became the only second foreign leader to receive this award, showing the high regard for his global leadership. In the same month, the President of Guyana, Dr. Muhammad Irfan Ali, awarded Prime Minister the country's highest national honor, the Order of Excellence, for his visionary leadership and his support for the rights of developing nations on global stage. Also in November, Prime Minister was honored with Dominica's highest national award, the Dominica Award of Honor. The award recognized his leadership, support to Dominica during COVID-19 pandemic, and efforts to strengthen ties between the two nations. In December 2024, the Amir of Kuwait awarded Prime Minister with the Order of Mubarak al-Kabir, Kuwait's highest national honor. At the heart of these global recognitions lies Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision, one that focuses on the well-being of all humanity and on peace and dialogue. Whether addressing conflict, climate change or terrorism, Prime Minister's message remains clear. The world must stand united and work together to find lasting solutions. Bureau Report, DD India.
And US President Donald Trump on Wednesday issued a round of tariff letters to 7 countries, including Algeria, Iraq, Libya, Sri Lanka and the Philippines. The letters called for tariffs of 30% each on Algeria, Iraq, Libya and Sri Lanka, 25% each on Brunei and Moldova, and 20% on the Philippines. The latest letters add to 14 others issued earlier in the week, including 25% tariffs for South Korea and Japan, which are also to take effect from August 1st, barring any trade deals reached before then. They were issued a day after Trump said he was broadening his trade war by imposing a 50% tariff on imported copper and would soon introduce long-threatened levies on semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. Trump has said trade talks have been going well with China and the European Union, which is the biggest bilateral trading partner of the US. US President Trump announced that America would impose a 50% tariff on all imports from Brazil after a public spat with his Brazilian counterpart Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva this week. In the letter posted on Truth Social, Trump announced that the 50% tariff is linked to Brazil's treatment of former President Jair Bolsonaro, who is facing trial on the charges of plotting a coup to stop President Lula from taking office in 2023. Trump also accused Brazil of attacks on US tech companies. Trump was involved in a public spat with Lula earlier this week, while Brazilian president fired back on Wednesday, saying new tariffs would be met with reciprocal measures. Lula said Brazil would not accept interference from anyone and added, "No one is above the law." Lula, his vice president, his finance minister and others held an emergency meeting in Brasilia on Wednesday night to discuss the new levies. President Trump also announced a 50% tariff on copper that would be effective August 1st. The decision was made after a national security assessment. Earlier, Trump signaled on Tuesday that he was imposing fresh tariffs on copper, sending US COMEX copper futures to record highs. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Hamas agrees to release 10 hostages as part of Gaza ceasefire talks, says negotiations are tough. Texas flash floods kill many, search for missing intensifies. And in Wimbledon, women's semi-finals will be played today. Stay tuned to know who plays who.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says, supply creates its own demand, between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday morning to attend the 58th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting. During his visit, Rubio will attend a post-ministerial conference and a meeting by East Asian foreign ministers. It is Rubio's first visit to Asia since taking office, and he will try to reassure his ASEAN partners that the region is a priority for Washington. He will also meet with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and hold trilateral talks with the Philippines and Japan. Rubio will also meet with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on the sidelines of ASEAN meetings. The two leaders will meet on Thursday as U.S. prepares to send more weapons to Ukraine. It will be the second in-person meeting between Rubio and Lavrov. The meeting comes as Russia has been pounding Kiev and other Ukrainian cities. Meanwhile, India will be represented by Minister of State for External Affairs Pavitra Margarita at the ASEAN-India Foreign Ministers meeting. He will also attend the 15th East Asia Summit FMM and 32nd ASEAN Regional Forum on 10th and 11th July as part of the 58th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and related events. The minister said he is looking forward to meaningful engagements and further strengthening the comprehensive strategic partnership with ASEAN. Moving to West Asia, leaders are inching towards Gaza ceasefire deal as talks are going in good direction between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President Donald Trump in the United States. Speaking in an interview with Fox Business Network's Mornings with Maria, Netanyahu said negotiations are focused on a 60-day ceasefire that will see half of the living and deceased hostages returned to Israel. He said Israel had set up its own system to prevent Hamas from diverting supplies.
Been meeting with President Trump about a potential ceasefire with Hamas. Where does that stand? Will you agree to some of these new recent demands of Hamas?
Well, look, we are talking about a 60-day ceasefire in which half the live hostages and half of the deceased hostages would be returned to Israel by these Hamas monsters, you know. And yes, I think we're getting closer to a deal. I think.
And US President Donald Trump is also quite optimistic that there is a very good chance of a ceasefire in Gaza this week or next after meeting Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday for the second time in 2 days to discuss the situation.
Well, we're talking about Gaza for the most part. I think we have a chance this week or next week. Not definitely. There's nothing definite about war and Gaza and all of the other places that we all deal with so much, but there's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement, an agreement of some kind this week and maybe next week if not.
While Hamas on Wednesday said it would release 10 hostages as part of Gaza ceasefire talks after Israel struck an upbeat note about the prospects for a deal to stop the fighting in Gaza. The group statement came after 4 days of indirect talks brokered by Qatar, and as the United States signaled its belief that agreement for a 60-day truce would be struck before the end of the week. Of 251 hostages seized during the assault on Israeli border communities near Gaza, 49 are still held in the territory, including 27 the Israeli military says are dead. A Liberian left-flagged cargo ship attacked by Yemen's Houthi rebels sank on Wednesday in the Red Sea. Eternity Sea went down Wednesday morning after attacks on 2 previous days. Rescuers pulled 6 crew members alive from the Red Sea, while the fate of another 15 was unknown. This was the second ship attacked by Houthi rebels within a week. The attack on the Eternity Sea as well as the sinking of the bulk carrier Magic Seas in another attack Sunday raised new questions about the Red Sea's safety as ships had slowly begun returning to its waters. The Red Sea, which passes Yemen's coast, has long been a critical waterway for the world's oil and commodities, but traffic has dropped sharply since the Houthi attacks began. Now, in Bangladesh, Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus on Wednesday directed the law enforcing agencies to complete all preparations by December for the upcoming parliamentary elections. The Chief Advisor made the directive in a meeting in the capital Dhaka. There were discussions over the deployment of law enforcement members for 7 days to maintain law and order during the election period before, during and after the polls. The Chief Advisor instructed to take preparation for bringing some 16,000 vulnerable polling stations throughout the country under CCTV monitoring network to ensure peaceful balloting in the upcoming national election. Besides this, the members of police and other forces will be deployed for 7 days instead of the tradition of 5 days during the election in a bid to resist any sort of violence ahead of the vote and prevent the deterioration of law and order after the vote. Earlier in June, after meeting with the acting chairperson of Bangladesh Nationalist Party, Tariq Rahman, in London, Yunus hinted at holding the next parliamentary election in the first half of February 2026. Well, updates on Texas floods now. The devastating floods sweeping through central Texas have claimed at least 119 lives, with over 160 people still unaccounted for. Workers in central Texas continue to comb through piles of muddy debris from July 4 floods as Governor Greg Abbott ordered flags to be lowered to half staff over the tragedy. The bulk of fatalities and the search for additional victims were concentrated in Kerr County and the county seat of Carawille, which transformed into a disaster zone when torrential rain struck the region early last Friday. The catastrophe has triggered fresh scrutiny of the country's emergency response model. Governor Abbott, who toured the affected areas recently, said the state emergency alert system would be reviewed in a special legislative session this month. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump will visit Texas on Friday to assess the damage and meet with the officials. Staying with US, all 31 workers have been rescued after an industrial tunnel collapsed in Los Angeles Wilmington area in California. The tunnel that collapsed had a diameter of 18 feet and was being constructed for municipal wastewater management. Aerials showed workers being lifted in cages out of the shaft of the collapsed tunnel. The collapse happened about 6 miles, which is 10 kilometers south of the tunnel's only access. Sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. The India versus England 5-test match series heads into its pivotal third chapter at the most iconic cricket venue of them all, Lords. The test series is finally balanced at 1-1 as the third test approaches. The stakes couldn't be higher, with both sides eyeing a crucial lead. While India arrive with the momentum of a record-breaking win, England will be desperate to restore parity on familiar turf. Here's a report. After a dominant 336-run victory at Edgbaston, India carried not just momentum but renewed belief. Their captain Shubman Gill, who scored over 400 runs in that match alone, returns to the home of cricket as a batter in sublime form, leading a side hungry to rewrite their overseas record. But England, bruised yet unbowed, will look to bounce back hard. The Lord's surface, known for its early movement, could tempt the host to tweak their bowling attack. Eyes are on speedster Jofra Archer, who returned to the squad after recovering from injury. Meanwhile, India welcome back their pace spearhead Jasprit Bumrah. His inclusion promises a thrilling duel, especially against England's in-form middle order.
Lords का जो टेस्ट का जो फर्स्ट सेकंड इनिंग का स्कोर्स भी है वो कंपैरेटिवली लो है, सो एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं कि थोड़ा हेल्प बॉलर्स को ज्यादा हो सकता है. बैट्समैन के लिए चैलेंजिंग सेम थिंग मैं बिलीव करता हूं कि वो माइंड सेट ही है. Spending time on the wickets is the best friend you can have.
Akashdeep, fresh from a record-breaking 10-wicket haul, rattled England's top order and notably cleaned up Joe Root with a fabulous delivery at Edgbaston. The right-arm seamer now faces the challenge of maintaining that form under the scrutiny of Lords. India's batting has found rhythm too. Apart from Captain Gill, Vice-Captain Rishabh Pant, Yashasvi Jaiswal and KL Rahul have showcased fearlessness and scored valuable centuries across both tests.
We, over the, history of 50-60 years, we played 7 matches over different courses, different teams coming here. I believe this is the best Indian team to be able to come here in England, and we have the capability to beat them. to win the series from here. And we have got the right momentum with us. If we keep making the right decisions and we keep grinding and we keep fighting, I think it would be one of the series to remember.
For England, a response is imperative. The batting unit, led by Stokes, Root, Brook and Pope, has to find answers against India's varied and confident bowling attack. As the battle for Test supremacy intensifies, both teams know the third Test could be decisive. With the series tied at 1-1 and the Lord's stage set, expect no shortage of drama and defining moments. Sports Desk, DD India. And in Wimbledon, women's semi-finals will be played today. World number 1 Arina Sabalenka will make the third Wimbledon semi-final appearance of her career when she faces American Amanda Anisimova on Thursday. In the second semi-finals of the women's singles, Iga Swiatek will face Switzerland's Belinda Bencic on Thursday. Alright, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.